Welcome back, everyone, to another In the Name of the Father production. In this video, we have Maestro Raffi Mikaelian orchestras and choirs. He's the conductor of the Schnorrali Choir at the St. Leon Armenian Cathedral. Today's topic is on the power of music. So now let's welcome Maestro Raffi. Welcome, Maestro Raffi.
Hello, Vartan. Thank you for having me.
So, Maestro, I have a few questions to ask you. So, what is music to you?
Music is food to the soul, I would say, and it's prayer as well, in a way. And it's the moving energy behind. It's the moving energy of my body, I would say,
Right.
for me.
Okay. Nice.
And it's probably one of God's greatest creations besides his creation of man. I think all music is written through him. Composers are just a tool to write down what comes from above.
Right.
That's, of course, I only mean sacred and classical music, not the music we listen to nowadays, at least not most of it.
Nice. Great. Maestro Raffi, my second question I have is, as you conduct at the Schnorrali Choir at St. Leon, I want to know, what is Schnorrali Choir?
The Schnorrali Choir is the main choir at St. Leon Cathedral in Burbank. They're the choir responsible of singing the Badarak, or the Divine Liturgy, on Sunday. We have 40 singers in the Schnorrali Choir. And I'd like to say that as most choirs, unfortunately, in the Armenian communities and churches, it's always female dominant, because our Armenian men unfortunately do not realize how important it is to sing. It's a great joy that our female singers really appreciate that and really feel the difference of singing, especially at church. When it comes to men, it's not the issue. You always need to convince them, and they're most of the time not convinced. So we always lack male voices, and the music is written in 4 parts, so you need equal female and male voices, or at least 60% female, 40% male, to have a good balance. But that's not even the case. We're not even close there. But hopefully things will change in the future, and men will realize that singing is a great way to have a good sense of the community. And after all, the music at church is, we sing what the congregation is supposed to sing, what the people at church are supposed to sing. So we're the representatives. And the most beautiful thing about our Armenian church is that the choir, or the people, are the base. They're the most important. They're the body. The clergy are just like the head of it. They conducted it. But our part, 70-75%, is the part, what the choir sings. In other churches, it's not the way. It's not the same. They only have like 3 or 4 hymns, and that's it. If it's total singing of 10 to 15 minutes. But at our church, it's like an entire opera, because you have the curtains, you have the clothing, the shabigs, there's the processional, there's the culmination, which is the Divine Communion, and the people are always participating. So the main character, although it's the priest who's gonna take us towards the communion, but the main people who are singing is the choir, or is the congregation. So that makes our musical tradition and our church stand out from other churches and traditions, which is something we need to be proud of and we need to appreciate. And in order to appreciate it, we really need to have more male voices in the choir.
Oh, nice. My next question, Maestro Raffi. What do you think the most influential piece of music has been so far in this world that we live in?
Well, I mean, that's a very difficult question. Although you can split it into like choral and orchestral, maybe. One of the most beautiful choral pieces is Komitas's Patarak, the Divine Liturgy, written by Komitas, is just phenomenal. As with orchestral and choral, maybe Verdi's Requiem or Bruckner's Te Deum, also for choir and orchestra, which are also sacred music. Maybe Bruckner's symphonies, anyone, the 8th or the 9th, because since he was also a very, very religious composer and always he always had God in his music, in his symphonies.
Can you tell us about your church choir experiences that you had?
Well, I started since I was a kid. I was on the altar, and then I joined the church choir. That was back in Lebanon. I always came to church because of the music. I always came to church because of the choir singing, and that was the first thing to make me always want to go to church. And then when I heard other church choirs, I always wanted to go to the choir which sounded better, or the choir which had more voices, like 3-part voices or 4-part voices. And of course, my professional experience is in Armenia, because in Armenia you have all the singers are professional music students or graduates. So that's where I started singing at Saint Grigor Lusavoric in Yerevan. And then I became the Tebrabed in Saint Marine in Ashtarak, and then I went back to Saint Sarkis, and then back to Grigor Lusavoric before moving to the United States. So I've either been Tabir or Tebrabed. I was either a singer in the choir or a conductor or the choir assistant for so many years, and I understand how a good quality choir brings more people to church, because they always wanna feel the beauty of the music, and you can only achieve that when you have a good choir, when you have dedicated people who come to rehearsals, which we are very fortunate to have at Saint Leon today.
Yes. Very nice, Maestro Raffi. So my next question, Maestro Raffi. So what is the difference between spiritual music and secular music?
Spiritual music is the one that you perform at church for religious purposes, or any music related to any religious service. And secular music is the music which is not related to any religious service, just any song
Any songs.
outside of church.
At last, Maestro Raffi, can you name one of your arranged hymns?
I always liked to arrange hymns by Maestro Raffi.
Okay.
So I've done Angani Marachiko, I've done Luis Parats, and I've also arranged Gomidas Sharagans for orchestra and the Shnorhali choir. These were made specifically for the Shnorhali choir during the concerts which we had over the past.
That's great, Maestro Raffi. So that's all for today's podcast. Thank you, Maestro Raffi.
Thank you. Thank you, Barton.
That's all, everyone. We'll see you guys on the next video in the name of the Father production.